The following is a transcript between Matías De Stefano, referred to as me, and his higher self, referred to as I am, originally produced on October 11th, 2020, under the constellation of Virgo in the mental week, examining through the ankle chakras. Me. For 2 days, I felt a strange emptiness, as if without strength, listless, as if nothing I was doing made any sense. Even so, I know that it is, and it does. The monotony dulls the intensity of the facts, of the purpose, stripping it of its content. I am the natural loss of meaning. Do you know why it happens? I do not. I am. Where does the word meaning come from? Me. The word feeling comes to me, which comes from senses, the 5 senses: touch, taste, smell, sight, and hearing. I am, exactly. The 5 senses of your body are the biological tools through which the brain captures the information that surrounds it through electrical pulses, signals that it receives through the nerves that branches out throughout your body, especially in the nerve endings of the senses. This is how feelings are born, by the sensations that your brain perceives from the outside world. Me. So the sense gives meaning to what I perceive of the world. I am. And they determine what you project into it. Everything you touch in the world is registered in your brain as the boundaries of the external world. Everything you hear gives you balance to recognize where you are. Everything that you see helps you to perceive the depths and thus the direction you can move in between. Taste allows you to determine what is good and what is bad about everything you consume from the outside world. And smell allows you to put yourself before risky situations and attract yourself to positive circumstances, since it captures the smell of other humans and animals, or positive or harmful gases from the environment, which improve intuition. All of this generates an image of the world that surrounds you. It generates a pre-established design, a map of reality. A memory is responsible for guiding you through the corridors of the labyrinth of reality. Me. The senses give meaning to my life. They define my paths, where I'm going, where I move. It is a mental map, like a video game, with an established design that can be perfected by my senses that perceive the new things. But they can only add walls and corridors and rooms to this enormous network of memories. I am. The great mental map designed by the perceptions of the external world is what we call the meaning of life. The Latin languages, senses come from sense, which means precisely perception, feeling, feel. In the Saxon languages, we base ourselves on the Indo-European men, which means to think. Latin origins of the word mind, which gives us the origin of the English word mean, as to mentalize, and from there meaning, which is to sense. Thus, for both linguistic origins, meaning is the perception built by the mind, which is why it receives and builds from feeling. Me. So what would it be to give meaning to things? I am. Giving meaning to something means placing it in the place that corresponds it with its pre-existing mental map. Locate the logic that you have in relation to all of the ideas and feelings pre-established by the mental map. When something makes sense, it is often felt in the emotion, as if it fits within personal parameters, designed after a millennia of genetic inheritance and personal experience in this life as an individual. Thus, everything that I give a meaning to in reality will not have it by itself, but will have it only because the mind feels it. Hence, truth is subjective. Me, in other words, searching for the meaning of life is a personal, individual, and not a collective search. I am. There is no single meaning to life. Me, my friend told me a biology joke. What is the meaning of life? From 5 cousin to 3 cousin. It is very specific, but it is because the construction of DNA and RNA is given by the carbon structures based on nucleotides of carbon 5 connected to a phosphate group of carbon 3 connected to a hydroxyl group, and it is in that order that the sense direction of which the enzyme assembles the DNA strands. In other words, the path of life, the direction that biology takes, is generated all the information of what we are. I am. The meaning is precisely that, a direction. The 5 senses configure an assembly, a mapping of reality that allows us to find the right path. This is how the structure of everything that exists are organized, and the ideas of what we have of the world around us. Me. And what happens when we lose consciousness? I am. Nonsense is precisely getting lost in the map, not knowing what direction, losing track of things, and not having a point of reference. It leads us to question. I ask you, do you know why it happens? Me. Because I am. Because you have expanded your mind. You have seen beyond what you were used to seeing. You have gotten off the map. You've flown over. You are no longer having reference on which to base yourself. The 5 senses tirelessly search for a way to give direction, to find the way in the labyrinth of the mind. But it can't find anything like it, nothing known. It is new terrain in which you have to build from scratch. The inability to perceive previous paths, pre-established structures, means that the brain does not receive the same nerve signals and does not know where to place the new ones. Therefore, you feel empty, like there's no reference, and the sensation of floating, of not knowing where to cling without an axis, leading the whole body to feel insecure, which leads the brain to a state of lethargy and a little hibernation until he can recover, building some walls, putting a path to stand on. And the feeling is often confused with emptiness and depression. In reality, you are reconstructing a new meaning. Me. So losing the meaning, the nonsense, is not the opposite of finding the meaning, but it is precisely shows me that I have found it and my mind is adapting to it. I am. Exactly. Nonsense is the symptom of the process of discovering a new meaning. It is also known as existential crisis. For the first time, the meaning is lost and the world is interpreted as nonsense. It is when you get out of the cultural parameters and have a spiritual awakening. It doesn't have to be related to something extrasensory. It may be simply having gotten out of the box and seeing that it didn't make any sense to live in a work system of 8 hours a day to take 15 days vacation in the summer. At first, it looks like depression, and then you start trying to fulfill your dreams. And you have a new awakening, recognizing that you were looking outside for what was inside, and a new depression comes, in which it seems that everything you did until now was meaningless. In fact, you are redefining it on another level of consciousness. And then you realize that you are multidimensional, and your own personality loses its meaning, and you are no longer anyone because you are many more. Until you see multidimensionality as a part of a whole that is not separate, and existence itself loses meaning. Every time you lose the meaning of things, you are building a new one, making sense of a reality as nothing more than the comfort of the mind finding a new comfort zone in which to move freely. The leap toward transformation occurs when I jump into the abyss where you lose security, where there is no longer a path or indicators, where meaning is lost. Well, none of the 5 senses can help me map that context. And the 5 must stop comparing everything with the previous ones to begin to perceive a new one. Then, me. That is what they say, in a certain way. The universe has no meaning, and it's made up of all possible meanings. I am. What you say makes sense because it's nonsense. Me. I understand. Making sense of things is nothing more than a way to move forward, to find a ground, to generate a purpose and a direction for life. But life changes, it adapts, it expands, and when we do the same, our mind loses the previous path. It loses the sense to build a new one. Thus, I will never be able to find the true meaning of things, since meaning is only created from perceptions, not from realities. I am, therefore, dare to live nonsense in order to really understand the meaning of things. Do not be afraid of losing your meaning, of feeling the small step of losing it, because that is the moment in which you are really giving meaning to your existence. Me. I allow myself, then, to make sense of nonsense, and thus to trace the eternal destinies of my mind, designing the purpose of my life.